Welcome to the Lab 5 of Embedded Logic Design course. In this video, we'll be discussing how to design and implement this GCD algorithm in Vivado. So yeah, let's get started. So as usual, create a new project and yeah. So before starting, we need to create a source file, and as we have previously made top header and top contents as that, we'll be just making a GCD Verilog file. This will act as a top file, which will basically encompass both the control paths and the data paths. So yeah, this is where both the control path and data path function design will lie in. So yeah, no need to add any constraints. You need to add a port. This is important. Let's not worry about the inputs and output. Yes, sir. Okay, so before starting, I just want to clarify a few things. You do not need to implement the design in hardware. So there's only you only need to do behavior simulation of the code that you have written. You just need to check whether this code is generated or not. This code is being able to simulate or not. And then you need to check the outputs and observe how we converted an algorithm to an architecture based on the concepts that you have learned on the previous video. So, yeah. So as we have discussed that this algorithm we need to dynamically determine the how many loops that we need to do. We use an FSM, and with the help of a control path and data path. In data path, we mainly made the calculations on the data that we're getting to calculate GCD. Whereas in control path, we determine when should we iterate or when should we terminate when should we terminate when should we terminate a certain loop to determine that we have reached our desired output. So yeah, so we need to have both GCD data path as well as GCD uh, control path to make this code. So yeah, let's start by coding and let's do this. I'll be explaining the code as well, but rather than wasting time on writing the code, I'll just explain the code. Now that we have written the code for GCD data path, and GCD control path, let's just glance over, and I'll give you a brief description of what is going inside the code. So basically, in GCD code, as we have discussed in the previous videos, we will be getting a clock as an input, and then a clear, which will determine when we are clearing out every single variable and the register that we're using. And then go, which determines when we're getting a new value, basically a new data points to process. And then this is the inputs, xn, yn, and there's the output. So I've included these commented out in the code just to determine, just to see what are the uh, status of these variables where during simulation you can use these variables to debug your code. If there's something wrong, you can use these. So these are the wire that we're using. So these wires act as an interconnect between data path and control. So let's just go through these wires to determine what the functionality is. So equal flag. Basically, equal flag tells us when to terminate the loop. So once we get the confirmation from the data path that this equal flag is 1 or 0, it determines that we need to terminate a loop. If the equal flag is 1, it implies that x is equal to y, and we need to terminate the loop, and we got the output. So this determines that, and this the flow of the flow of the data is from data path to control path. This is important to understand for you to understand. The flow is from data path to control path. Same goes for a less than flag. Less than flag basically implies basically gives us the information on on what input do we need to change, do we need to update. So whether it be x or y, and should we use x minus y or y minus x, and what data point do we need to update. So this is determined by the less than flag, and again the direction is from data path to the control path. Next, XM select. So for XM select, let us discuss the XM select. So this was the block diagram of the. So this was a block diagram of the. Hopefully this is. Yeah. So this is the data part. This is the block diagram of the data part. Here you can see that we need to determine whether we are giving new data points to the whole design, or we need to give updated data points to the design. So this to determine that we're using XM select. And similarly, to determine that we're using YM select. So there's the main reasoning of why we need this. So this basically tells us when we are going to use the new data, which will be determined by the Go variable in the GCD, and when we need to give the previous data, which is and the previous data is XMY and YMX. So this is X minus Y and Y minus X. So so this is the brief description of XM select and YM select. This is XLD, YLD. This tells when the data path when to load the value of X, Y, and G. So let's go to the model again. So as you can see here, that there's XLD, YLD, and GLD. So basically, these variables or these wires tells the register, the X-reg, Y-reg, and G-reg, when to load the data inside, when to load the data which is coming from X1, Y1, and from GCD to load inside the registers. So this is why we're using XLD, YLD, and GCD. So GLD, my bad, GLD, G load. Now that we understood the utility of these interconnects between data path and the control path, let us just go over the input and output of the data path. Again, we'll be making use of clock, clear in the data path as well as in the control path. But you might be noticing that we're only using go in control path only. This control part is because as you can see here, that control path basically works on the concept of an FSM. So it basically determines at what stage that we are on, and whenever go is equal to 1, that means that we will be at stage 1, which is the start, or stage 0, which is the start. That from this point onwards, we will start the calculation on the new data points that we receive uh, in the form of here xn and yn. So this is the utility of go, and since this is the reason why we're only giving it to the control path, because control path determines when to load the data into registers and use those loaded data. So yeah, this is, as you can see here, that the output of the control path is the load signals. So the control path determines when we are going to load certain data. So when we're going to load a certain data which is coming from over here and over here and over here into the registers, and then we when we do a certain of the combination logic on them. So this is the basic utility of the uh, control path. So yeah, this is basically utility of control path. As you can see that this is you can see the as you can see here that you can see the similarities between the FSM that we have designed in previous labs and GC and control path over here. So this is the present state and next state. We initialize present state is equal to 0 so as to avoid the X condition. So as you can see here that the clock and the clear signal are asynchronous to each other. So it doesn't really matter if so why we're giving this. So let's understand the concepts of asynchronous, synchronous resets or clear. So as you can see here, irrespective of the fact that whether the clock is at the POSIX position, if we get a POSIX of clear, then this whole always block will get activated. So it is not synchronous with the clock. It is asynchronous. So this is the reason why we are saying that the clear is asynchronous to the clock. So when clear is equal to 1, irrespective of the clock edge, the present state will be assigned to start. So this will determine that we're going to start the whole process all over again. And we have handled the functionality of the clear over here. After that, whenever it is not equal to, so whenever clear is equal to 0 and pause is equal to 1, so essentially at that moment, the present state will be equal to the next state. The value of the next state will be assigned to the present state, and this will determine this will yeah, this will make sure that the FSM moves forward. So we have already covered this concept in the FSM. As you can see here in the FSM, we have made a module, made an always combination block, which determines the value of next state based on the present state as well as the input that we're giving. So it is your job to determine whether this is a melee or move a machine. So you can do that. You can determine that on your own. And yeah. So with the help of, so we have designed this always at the combination block over here. But as you can see here that we have also utilized this always combination block. So the utility of this combination, so this combination block only determines the value of the next state. So at the this only determines the value of the present state that needs to be assigned at the next clock edge. So this is the functionality of this. But at the end of the day, what we need is to assign the value of the output, and for that we need to make another combination another combination block basically. So and this combination block depends on the present state. So whatever the present state that we're in, and depending on yeah, whatever the present state that we're in, this should be the yeah, this should be the output that will be given. So this is the basic logic behind making this combination block. So yeah. So to determine, so go over and give a brief explanation. You can refer to this. You can refer to this. You can refer to the previous videos uh, where Sir has discussed, where Sir has explained the FSM, and as you can see here, that there are 7 states: the start, input, done, test one, test two, update one, and update two. So yeah, so as you can see here, that we can see the similarities. We can make the connection on how this FSM is implemented over here. So let's do that. So as you can see at start, if go is equal to 1, then the next state will be equal to input 1. This basically determines at the start, if go is equal to 1, then we will take the data in, and then we'll start the processing of the data. So this reminds that we have gone to the next stage. If go is again equal to 0, then that only says that we need to wait for the next data that is going to come. Because when so we can only achieve start by 2 ways. So sorry, we can only achieve start by one method, by having clear is equal to 0. So by setting clear, so clear is equal to 1. So this is the way we're determining start. And with the help of that, so whenever start is clear is equal to 1, the start will become 0. And then we'll wait for the go, as you can see here. And with the help of go, so this go signal will determine that the next values have arrived. And now we need to process those values. So when the go is equal to 1, we'll go to this state. So this state is basically this stage over here. So in this stage, we'll go, in this stage we'll basically store the values in the registers, and then we'll proceed towards the next stage. So as you can see here, yeah, if present state is yeah, if input 1, the next state is equal to test. So we are not doing any manipulation of the next state over here. We're just simply assigning that we're simply depending on the logic of the register, that whenever we achieve this input 1, then the next state should automatically become test 1, because the assignment of the new inputs that are coming to the GCD data path, they will be directly assigned to the registers in the next clock edge. So this is why we are making use of this statement over here to basically to basically tell the FSM, tell a design that the moment we go to input 1, in the next clock edge, positive clock edge, we should go to next state, which is test 1. So in test 1, things are very different, because in test 1 we determine whether the equal flag is 1 or not. So this basically tells us that if equal flag is 1, then our iterative loop has completed, and we have arrived at the position where we can where we found out the value of the GCD out. So at this stage, the next stage is equal to done, because we are done with the whole process. We know the value of GCD, and we'll be terminating this whole calculation. But if this next state is not but equal flag is not equal to 0, that means we need to iterate more and need to make some further calculations. And to do that, we are making use of the state test2. So yeah, the state test2, we are basically we are using less than flag. If less than flag is equal to 1, then we need to make certain updates to our inputs. If next less than flag is equal to 0, we will be making use of certain we will be making use of different updates to our inputs. So we'll be looking at that over here. So update 1, when update 1 is when we arrive at update 1, we just need to go to test 1 again to check whether we have completed the whether we have achieved the equal flag is equal to 1 condition or not. If not, then this loop will carry on. So as you can see here, rather than using a while loop or a for loop, we are using an FSM to dynamically decide when we need to stop. So yeah, with the help of this logic, we are able to implement our GCD design without the use of while and for loop. So similarly, after that, we'll yeah, so in either case, either way, we go to update 1 or update 2, we need to go back to test, check whether the equal flag is 1 or not. So this is why we're basically doing this helps in iteratively making use of the GCD design. So after that, once so when next stage is equal to done, so yeah, let's just go through here. So the only way of achieving done state is with the help of after test 1. So after when we get equal flag at 1, the next state will be assigned to done. This basically determines that once equal flag is 1, then we just need to terminate the whole calculation, terminate the whole FSM design, and we need not make any more further calculations. So this is why even when done is equal to when the present state equal to 1, the next state is also equal to done. This is the next state is not equal to start, because we are not going to do this calculation again unless the clear is equal to 1. So this is important for you to understand that yeah, that at any moment if we want to do any calculation of certain two inputs x and y, we need to do GCD x and y. We need to make clear is equal to 1, so that our present state, our next state is equal to our present state is equal to start, and then this process will continue on. unless we can just give a data, and after that data calculation one, give another set of data and give go. Even if we go give go is equal to one, it won't work. Make sure that you understand this concept. So as you can see here, when input is equal to one, they are giving x load is equal to one, y load is equal to one, and xm select one and ym select one. This basically tells us that whenever input is equal to one, we are getting initial data, the data as which is x in. So let me just show you here. We are getting this data over here. So whenever we get go, and in the next state, we will be giving one as xn select, which will prompt it to select xn and yn. And after that, will also give x load and y load, which will prompt the design to uh, store the value of xn and yn in this register, in this array of flip flops. So with the help of this, we will be storing the value over here. And yeah. So this is the basic function. So yeah, let me just explain the final few lines of code, and we'll be done with designing control. So yeah, and update one, we need to y load is equal to one, which basically tells us that update one basically tells us that we need to update the value of y3 is equal to 0, and in update two, it tells us to update the value of x3 equal 0. So this is basically the so to understand that, you can refer to the previous videos, because this is basically the concept of GCD itself and how we're designing the GCD. So yeah, as you can see that we have designed the control path, and we have basically understood the control path. So one thing that we need to understand, that we are using XM select, YM select, XLD and YLD. The XLD and YLD are and GLD are basically inputs to a register. And rather than implementing a register in the data path and making it more convoluted, we have designed a register and a mux, rather than just using a normal if-else statement in this design only and make the design very complicated. We have made use of these two pieces of code. So we'll write this code. This is just an instance of a piece of code that we're going to write, an instance of a mux, an instance of a register that we used here to store the value of x that is coming inside, y that is coming inside, and the GCD out. And yeah, so this is basically the values of these are basically this design over here. So these are the two muxes, and these are the three registers, and we have designed that rather than directly coding it into data path, we have used different codes, different files. So let's just make those files. So we'll be making use of see the okay, so the name of the is mux2g and register. So let's just keep it simple. So I have the piece of code here, so I'll just add them. Yeah. As you can see that these have been added, and yeah, let us first understand the. Oh wait, my bad, my bad. Yeah, so I need to add this code here. Fuji. So you can refer to this code whenever you need to design a mux and register. So yeah, these are important things that you need to learn. How to design mux register. These are very basic, but yeah. So let's just finish. Now, yeah, let's not determine the inputs and outputs right now. We'll handle that later. this is the mux register. Yeah, this is the register. So I'll give you a brief description of how to design this mux and register. So one more thing that you'll be noticing, that we are given a parameter as discussed in the divided clock when we made the counter, that how we can give the parameter. So similar to that lab, we have also given a parameter over here to to basically determine the width of the data points that we are storing in the register, that will be working on in the register in the mux. So yeah, this is not constrained to 1-bit mux or register. There's an n-bit register, and yeah, this is how to implement it. So this is just a mux. So this mux can be implemented with the help of basic if-else statement. And so here it is. The select line of the mux is given as s. So whenever we need to make use of this mux, whether in case of y select and or x select, we'll just be giving y select to here, over here, and x select to over here again. And then this will basically tell us that what needs to be the output, whether it be A or B. So, okay, so this is mux, and this is the register again. Register pauses. It has again has an asynchronous clear, as you can see here. That it has a clock, and at the or position and or the clear. So it is asynchronous, and Q. So yeah, again, we determine when clear is equal to 1, the output that we should be getting is 0, and whenever load equal to 1, which means the value of Q will be equal to D. So this would be the, and Q is our output, our n-bit output. So this is how we design the mux and register, and we'll be making use of this mux and register in the data path. So let us just go through the data path again. So as we have discussed in the control path, that we'll be getting the values XM select, YM select, XLD, YLD, and GLD from the control path. And we'll be getting those values from the GCD itself, the clock and the clear. And there's no go, because there's no use of go wire, go input, because that is handled by these 5 data points. After that, we have these 3, which is these 3 values over here. So these 2 are the data points. All these 3 are the data points. These 2 are the inputs, A, B, or X and Y, and this is the output GCD that we are getting. So, and these 2 variables are only used because I wanted to debug the code. So this is why I used this. This can be easily, you can just comment them out. But make sure when you comment them out, we're making use of these variables over here. So make sure that you make a wire or make a register. Don't make a wire because this is on the right hand side. So make a register and use that register whenever you make the calculation. So these are the necessary wires that are used to make the calculations, to make the combination logic easier and readable. So this XMY and YMX, which is assigned to x minus y and y minus x, basically x minus y and y minus x. These are the mathematical operations that we need to use in the GCD. This is the combination logic behind the equal flag and the less than flag. So we have designed the combination logic through this method. Now you might be thinking that we have designed this equal flag and combination flag to work under a combination logic rather than a sequential logic, and that is fine because our control path is sequential, and we only be making use of equal flag and less than flag whenever a finite state machine whenever the finite state machine is in a state of test 1 or test 2. So if that's not the case, then equal flags are useless. So that is why there's no need for calculating the less than value and equal value only when needed. We can calculate them at any point, and but we'll be making use of them when needed. So these are the mux values. So this is the mux instances that we have created. N is equal to, the value of n is given as 4 because we are handling 4-bit data. and these are the connections that we made. As you can see here, that x and y and xn, and as are the 0 and 1. Sorry, yeah, the a is 0, a is corresponds to 0, and b corresponds to 1, and xn select is the select value. You can clearly see the similarity over here. There's not much there to explain. So these are the registers again. 4-bit values are being handled over here. This is the load. This is so we calculated the G load, Y load from the control path, and this will determine when we need when we need to load the value of X, Y, or GCD to the registers. So we have done that here as well. Now you might be wondering where these operations are happening. Where these operations are happening. So these operations are happening over here. They're just sitting on plain sight. There they are. So this equal flag, this less than flag, these two correspond to just one over here. And we just need to make the minus, and we'll be adding that over here. So there's a great emphasis. So in this code, as you can see, there's a great emphasis on running the finite state machine, generating these control wires, and making use of this finite state machine to calculate the GCD, rather than we have not put much importance to calculating these values. So as you can see, this will be more apparent to you that why we're doing this, because of the fact that we are we're designing hardware architecture from an algorithm, and we're going through a hardware perspective rather than a software perspective. So this is why we are using these many these many signals to determine when the data needs to be processed. So this is important for you to understand that how you basically convert an algorithm to an architecture. So now that everything is done, we just need to make a test bench. So let's start by making test bench. So, this is a test bench, and input output. So we have made use of negative statements in previous labs as well. But let me just give you a brief description of these statements. So basically, this halts the basically this halts this makes so rather than giving hash 10 delay or something like that, we're making use of negative edge clock. So this will basically give a delay of 1 negative edge. So yeah, this is what's happening. Okay, you get a clear understanding of this statement when we run the test bench and actually simulate it. So yeah, so here is the clock. Again, if you want to debug the code, and you want to understand the how each and every signal, these barrel signals and all these load signals and the select lines, these flags work, you can use this piece of code here. You can just uncomment it, and you can do that. But make sure you initialize properly. Yeah. So you need to also uncomment this part, initialize this properly, and uncomment over here, and comment this part out. That's where uncomment, you cannot initialize these two at the same time. So this is important for you to understand. Now that initialization is done, let us just understand what stimulus that we're giving. So at the first negative clock edge, we're giving clear as 1. Then at the next negative edge, we're making clear as 0. So at this point, based on your understanding, you might be able to determine that at the control path, what should be the state of the FSM. The FSM would be at state 0, 0, 0, which is basically start. Sorry, 000, yeah, which is basically start. this state over here. And after that, we have we given go is equal to 1, which again tells us that we are getting correct values. We're getting we're getting valid data points, and we need to make calculation of GCD on them. So just go determines that. Again, when we get go, this with the help of the combinational logic in the FSM, we'll be we'll be moving on to the next state, which is from start to input one. So this is start from input one, and after that, after input one, we'll basically go directly go to test one to basically test if these are equal or not. Because if x and y are equal, then so let us just say 7 and 7. If x is equal to 7, y is equal to 7, then the greatest common divisor of that will be equal to 7. It is important for us to first test whether they are equal or not. And to check whether they are equal or not, we'll be making use of this flag over here that I have commented out. This flag should be, if they're equal, then this flag should be equal to 1. If they're not equal, then this flag should be equal to 0. If by chance you chosen to debug this and you uncommented this, then you will be able to see what the value of equal flag is. But based on our understanding of the code, we can determine that the equal flag would be equal to 0 whenever they're not equal. X and y are not equal. In this case, x and y are not equal. So yeah. So this is 3 and this is 6. So these are not equal. But we can clearly see that the greatest common divisor is 3. So let us go over and how this works. So after the calculation, after getting an app delay time, this is also important. You need to give certain amount of time to the FSM to work, because if we delete few of these negative edges, then again the clear vehicle will become 1 before the state of the FSM becomes done. So this basically tells us the iteration process cuts off in the middle. I mean, gets stopped, and then we get basically new data points. So we will not be able to achieve the valid output. So we won't be getting any output at that when we do that mistake. So you need to make sure that you give a substantial amount of delay between each data points. So this is what I've done with the help of negative edge clock. I've given certain amount of delay, good amount of delay between these two. So yeah. Let's just run this and finish. So this is also important. Basically finish this piece of code basically tells us when the behavioral simulation needs to be stopped. So whenever the simulation encounters this line, it terminates the whole simulation. So yeah, it won't run to a certain amount of time. It will run until this statement is encountered. So let's just run the behavior simulation. Let's just first see whether every instance is correct or not. Yep, everything is normal. And, yeah. Okay. So as you can see, the simulation ran perfectly, and after that, we don't know the outputs are correct or not. We need to check that. But after the simulation has run and counters finish statement, it basically stops over here. So yeah, as you can see, it stopped over here, and then you can check whether the values are correct or not. So yeah, so the go is equal to 1 over here, and we're getting so just 3 and 6 is the GCD. So the 3 and 6 are the X and Y inputs, and then 3 that we're getting is the output. So this is the GCD out. Similarly, in 4 and 8, this is the output that we're getting, which is 4. So yeah. So as you can see that the output they're getting is clear. There's one thing in so as you can see here that the clear is equal to clear is becoming a 1 and then 0 before we are giving valid data. Let's see what happens if we don't do that. So to handle that, we just need to do this part over here. So the clear will remain 0 no matter what. Let's see whether the GACD will calculate the GCD, this design will calculate the GCD of 8 and 4 or not. So let's just relaunch the simulation. Saved it. So we launched it. And as you can see here, that the output that we are getting, the output that we are getting is different. This design did not account for 4 and 8 and did not change give the correct GCD output because we did not clear. Okay, so you can change this on your own by making changes in the FSM. So what you need to do is, so in the FSM, yeah, what you need to do is whenever the done is equal to, whenever the state is equal to done, then when clear is equal to 1, then it is going to start. So you can create another signal which basically which tells us where the value of x and y have changed. Changed as in the initial value of x and y are changed, and when that value changes, we need to go to done and start. So this will automatically determine when we need to start the FSM or when we need to terminate the FSM. You can do that by changing the go value, but this is not something that we'll discuss. We'll discuss in this lab. So yeah, this is all you need to. So yeah, this is the hardware implementation of the. I mean, this is the hardware architecture of the code, and we'll be implementing. This is how we implemented the design in Bedlam. So yeah, this is the end of the lab, and good luck with your self-study square root assignment. I mean, it's just self-study, so you need to. It is just self-study. So,